Hey guys, Mark here from Red Star, and we got a little different podcast thing going on today. We're not going to talk about dogs, we're going to talk about my new African pied crow, Verona. She's a 6-week-old female. I think she's 6 weeks old now. Today's a Friday, and I got her on a Tuesday, so I've just had her a few days. It's a huge learning experience. I've never really had a bird, except for when we were kids. You know, our family had parakeets, but I didn't really do anything with them. People asked why I decided to get a crow. They think it's kind of strange, I guess, because when I tell people, hey, I got a crow, everybody looks at me weird, and like a crow, or, you know, they don't understand. So I find now that it's better to say, hey, I got a bird, you know. So anyway, the reason I decided to get a crow was since I was a kid. I basically, when I was a real young kid and started seeing animals, I really loved wolves, and I loved falcons and eagles. And then when I got a little bit older, someone had told me that if you split a crow's tongue like a reptile, they can talk. I was like, wow, that's kind of weird, but that sounds really cool. If a crow could talk, I mean, that would just be something. And then a couple years later, I was probably 12 or 13, I read somewhere in the library or something how intelligent crows were. Then all of a sudden I had this fascination with crows, so it was way before dogs. And then it kind of came and went and stuff, and more recently has become a bigger fascination, and I've been feeding the crows here at our place. We've got a couple of families, murders of crows, and I've been feeding them peanuts and watching them, hoping to kind of befriend them, and no luck at all. And then I learned about these African pied crows, which is a bird from Africa, so it's considered an exotic bird, so you can actually legally own one as a pet. You can't own a crow as a pet because of the U.S. Migratory Bird Act. So the only way you can actually own a crow in the U.S. here is if it's either being rehabilitated or rehabilitation or educational purposes. Otherwise, you really can't have one. So found a pied crow. Had talked to a guy named Daniel Walthers, who's a kind of premier breeder and trainer of these birds, and then I found another guy named Chris Bonaduce. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, and spoke with him quite a bit, and he had this bird, and I decided to finally pull the trigger. So that's why I got a crow. I know they're super smart, and the reason that I got it was just for the intelligence factor, and I figured in my animal training, I've been training dogs, that this is the next logical step. It's a big step. They live 25 to 50 years, so it's a big commitment for me, which is not my strong suit. So anyway, the first 3 days has been really fascinating. It's amazing. It is like a dog. You know, I was really worried. I didn't know how to hold it, how to feed it, how to touch it. I didn't know how to do anything. And when I brought her home, she came in a dog crate with a perch. And I brought her home and put her on the counter and kind of started to get some food together for her. And we could talk about food in a second, which is interesting. And then I was talking to her, and as I was talking to her, she started to talk back. So I thought, well, maybe she's feeling social. What the breeder told me was she should be probably pretty upset for the first, say, even week, where she'll be bent out of shape because of her environment change and won't want to eat or drink or anything like that. So I was concerned, you know, but I opened the door from the crate, and she came right out, and I gave her some water. She drank the water. We give her water out of a little eyedropper. And sorry, the camera's kind of losing its focus. There we go. So I gave her some water, and then I gave her some food, some ground raw rabbit at that point, whole rabbit, ground with bone. I had also mixed up some calcium because they need calcium, and a little bit of a multivitamin, and she ate right away. So, and then she came out and sat on my lap on a towel and started to do what she's doing now. Well, now she's picking at her anklets, but she started to, I believe it's called preening, where she's doing what she's doing now, cleaning her feathers, and that's a sign of comfort, I guess. I don't know. I just learned that today. So the whole experience in the get-go was really interesting. She just climbed right on my hand, and you know, I had held birds before and stuff, So she'd climb right on my hand and on my lap, and all of a sudden we're great and hanging out. She couldn't really fly too much. She was flapping her wings a little bit, and she can jump and fly a little bit. But overall, it was great. So they started clicking right away using a clicker. I found that she likes to pick up all kinds of neat things, metal, shiny things she likes. But she also has picked up a plastic lid. She held my clicker. She held my glasses for a moment. Super playful. And so on the third day, technically I got her Tuesday, Wednesday had her, and then Thursday, which is yesterday, we had a nice little session where we put the anklets on her. And I wasn't able to videotape the session because I was just a bonehead, but it was very interesting because like a dog, we actually had to restrain her for a moment, and we had to restrain her until she quit fighting. And when she quit fighting, we released our restraint, and she held her. She just kind of hung out there for a second, and she got up and she was fine. And after that, we ended up hanging out for a long time. We had the anklets on, hanging out and just enjoying ourselves. She actually fell asleep on my shoulder, and it all went pretty smooth. And then today, my friend Jason Seifert came over, who I've known for probably 13 years, I suppose, or maybe even 14 years. And he used to train here with me with a Malinois. He used to train ring, and he actually stopped training ring so he could get into falconry, and that was probably 12 years ago. So once I got the bird, I contacted him. He's got a lot of experience with birds. And he came over today, and we had a really great session with her where he showed me some stuff. We hooked her up to her tethers. Sorry, I gotta not move my head because the camera changes. Is it gonna fix if I move back? I'm not sure, but I'm gonna keep talking. Anyway, we hooked her up to the tethers, worked that out right away. That all went really well, but it is very much, it is very much like a dog. It's unbelievable. When you talk to her, she talks back. I don't know if who knows what she's communicating. She doesn't know what we're communicating. We don't know what she's communicating, but how quickly she picks up on things, how playful she is, how confident she is. I don't know if this is a breed or a bird thing, where she just kind of came out confident, wanted to eat, wanted to interact. I've had her around a number of people already, and she's been great. She's into me a little bit more because I primarily feed her. And when I take her out, I actually feed her by hand all the time. And whenever I feed her, I am actively trying to do something with the clicker and working. So she is working for her food. She's not really eating meals, so to speak. So it's been so far a really amazing experience. I'm really still just freaking out over this bird. It's like, I have to train. We have dogs to train in the morning, and in the morning I do all my training, and I can't wait to come in and train with the bird. And then I have to train dogs in the afternoon, and then I can't wait to come in and train the bird. The bird's just really exciting. I feel like there's tons and tons and tons of potential here that I just have to figure out how to tap into. So anyway, you guys, thanks for listening. So hopefully she'll be part of our show in the future, showing how she develops and how we're doing stuff. I'll show some active training and things. But so far things are going great. And it's a very, very interesting pet. It's a lot of animal. Right now she's hanging out. She's not tied. She's on her little perch that I made. And but we did have, we've been working with the tethers, and also I fed her, and we did some training. So she's kind of pooped. She's probably going to relax and take a nap at any moment. With these new tethers, she's really poking at them quite a bit and stuff like that. So we're just going through the motions. So it's really an interesting experience, and I have actually, it's going to sound silly, but because the bird is so different to train, all you can do is capture. You really can't. I talk to her more than I talk to a dog because they are so in tune that way, but you can't, I can't really lure. Luring doesn't work. I've tried it a little bit. if you bring food above her head, she has an eating response from, because she's been hand fed. But it like luring here and there so far hasn't really had any effect. So it's just been a matter of capturing with a clicker. And I feel like it's already helped my dog training, because I've been working with the bird at, like, I don't know, 5:45 in the morning, maybe 6 o'clock in the morning. It's kind of the first thing I've been doing the last couple of days. And then I go out and train dogs. And when I go out and train the dogs, I just feel more aware. It's very interesting. So really, really digging it. Anyway, guys, thanks for indulging me here. This is an African pied crow. They're pretty hard to find, actually. But if you guys want a bird for a pet, it's probably like, I would say, if you could equivocate it, if that's a word, equivocate. If you could equivocate it to a dog, I think an African pied crow would be like a German Shepherd, potentially, whereas an African white-billed raven would be like a Belgian Malinois. So it's I believe, on the grand scheme of birds, it's a lot of bird, but I got the bird for training, so we're trying to dial everything in the right way, and I think that it's going to be fine. We have plans on flying. Obviously we're not going to clip her wings, so we're going to work on flying and going out and returning, retrieving, things like that. I'm really excited. So anyway, you guys, take care. Thanks for watching. We'll have more dog stuff in the next show, obviously. But yeah, this is Verona, the 6-week-old African pied crow. She's ready to take a nap. There she goes. Maybe not. When she hunkers down, it seems like she falls asleep. So take care, guys.